Hello everybody, how are you guys doing? This is Rob of Ro2R Review, and welcome back. So what I wanted to do today was continue a little bit of the conversation that started last week surrounding Star Fox. And we all know the big news and the story around Star Fox, this crazy rumor that may or may not turn out to be true, to be fair, again, rumor, about Ro2R Studios' new game possibly being a Star Fox game. And of course, as we all know, the caveat to that was that it might be a Star Fox racing game. Now that in and of itself is crazy news. It is a crazy headline. Like I mentioned to you guys, I actually knew about that about a week or so before the news actually broke. And it's been a big deal. It definitely has split the fandom. People have very strong opinions on both sides of the fence. They absolutely love the idea. They absolutely hate the idea. They think it could be totally great for the series and the best way to adapt it to the modern era and the modern gamer, or they think it is the #1 way to just kill the franchise and it makes no sense. I, of course, discussed it in a very lengthy video. I spent about 20 minutes discussing the game and my opinions, and the fact that I do understand why some people maybe have some reasons to be nervous about the idea and don't like the idea, and some of those reasons are even very legitimate, but overall, I actually am very optimistic about the idea and very positive feeling about where the Star Fox could be going behind Ro2R Studios and with this whole racing game idea. I see a lot more positives than I do potential negatives. And again, this is the last time I'm gonna say this, reminding you guys that this is all based on just a rumor that may turn out not to be true. And over the past couple of days, seeing the split in the fandom, seeing a lot of people discuss it back and forth, they love it, they hate it, defending their reasons on Twitter and many YouTube videos and many comment sections on YouTube videos and all of that stuff, it kind of brought me to this conversation and how I wanted to continue discussing the game. And the main thing I wanted to discuss is, for the people who are maybe looking at this more negatively and stating that they don't like the idea, they should have made another traditional Star Fox, that's the way it should have been done, and this is really going to be the absolute death of the franchise. Again, I do understand a lot of those reasons, but I think that there's something to consider. And as much as I love the traditional Star Fox formula, as an older gamer who grew up when the first game came out, when the 64 version came out, all the other games, I'm one of the weirdos that even likes Star Fox Adventures, for example. There's something to consider when it comes to that traditional Star Fox, and it's whether or not it could even still work today. Now, obviously, this rumor came out and started weeks before E3, and so a lot of us are really assuming and hoping that at E3, in just 2 weeks' time, Nintendo will actually reveal this game, or at least reveal whatever it is Ro2R Studios is making, and either it's going to be the Star Fox racing game, or, to everyone's surprise, it's going to turn out to be something else, and that could be 100,000 different things that we'll just never know until we see it. And leading up to E3 in a couple of weeks and Nintendo's reveal, hopefully, of whatever this is, or this new Star Fox racing game, I wanted to discuss this idea. A traditional Star Fox game is a very specific kind of experience. I think that when most of us talk about a traditional Star Fox and wanting Star Fox to come back in a traditional sense, we think about what's the original Star Fox, and of course, Star Fox 64 did. Again, two of my favorite games I've ever played. I absolutely love and adore the first Super Nintendo game. I can still play it to this day. Star Fox 64, there are some times where I think it does make it into my top 10 all-time games, and other times where I think it doesn't quite make it in, but it's certainly in the top 20. I mean, really, Star Fox 64 was an incredible achievement and one of my greatest gaming memories as a kid. I was a teenager when that game actually came out for the 64. And it was so exciting. The hype leading up to that game was massive. It was introduced the Rumble Pack, which was such a crazy, exciting idea. The graphics, they said there's all this dialogue that was recorded, and it was so unbelievable. I mean, I could gush about that forever. And so when we think about those traditional games, we think about those formulas. And those formulas, for those of us who know it, and maybe some people who might not know it, they're very simple, they're very straightforward, it's not a very deep experience, and it's also not a very long experience. Now, I gotta tell you, those truths really became apparent to me when Star Fox 64 got the 3D remake for the 3DS, whatever, 5 or 6 or so years ago. And I was so excited for that to come out, and I picked it up, and I loved it. I mean, I love playing that game portably on my 3DS, and with the 3D slider dialed up. I mean, it really adds a lot to that game. It's a lot of fun, and it reminds me just how much I love Star Fox 64. But what I learned playing that game in the 2010s era, decades after it first released in 97, I want to say, it really showed me, wow, there isn't really that much to this. My memory as a 15 and 16-year-old kid, or even 17, I guess, depending on when it came out, my memory of Star Fox 64 during the 90s when I was a teenager was of this incredible, mind-blowing, next level, next generation feeling, deep, lengthy experience with so much to do, all these branching paths based on what kind of achievements or goals you hit throughout all the different missions, and you have 3 or 4 different ways you can go through all the different missions of the kind of space orbital map that they give you, and it just seemed like, wow, there's so much to do. You replay, you get better scores, you open up new paths, and then you fight Andros at the end, and it's really great. But again, playing it again really made me realize that there isn't a lot to that game. I mean, I was able to go all the way through that game, no matter which path I played through, in like 20 minutes. I could not believe that what I remember as one of the most epic and insane experiences as a teenager is relegated to really just a 20-minute, very simple, bland, thin experience. Now, it needs to be noted, when I use those descriptors, it's not because I actually think the game is a bad game. I think the game is incredible because of how incredible it was when it released. But, you know, a lot of games from that era maybe aren't as timeless as a lot of us want them to be, and I don't think that makes the game bad, but it does certainly go to show how far games have evolved since then, and how far the gamer has evolved, and what we expect out of our games. And Star Fox Zero is another great example of this, by the way, which is, as a lot of you guys know, a game I actually really do enjoy. I love Star Fox Zero for what it is, but even that really shows us, and it was something I took away from it when the game came out, it shows us that there isn't a lot to the traditional Star Fox experience. You play a mission, it takes you about 5 or 10 minutes to go through it, you kill a bunch of bad guys, it's a blast, but then it's over. And you do that, 6 or 7 times in a row as you go from mission to mission to mission. You beat the final boss and a couple of bosses in between, and then it's over. And you're like, wow, I guess all I'm really supposed to do is keep replaying these missions. I'll unlock a new mission here and there, which is cool, but I'm just replaying 7, 8, 10, 12 missions that are just like 10 minutes long a piece, just trying to get higher and higher scores. They're arcade shooters. That's essentially the experience. And while I myself love a good arcade shooter, I grew up on them, I can still enjoy them today, it's why I liked Star Fox Zero even today, it really doesn't appeal, doesn't appeal to the modern gamer, and I don't think it quite works in the modern gaming age. And so, the point of all that rambling that I just basically did about being a teenager and Star Fox and what it was like as it aged throughout the years, it really just made me realize, you know, I know a lot of us want a traditional Star Fox game, and I do want a traditional Star Fox game, but at the end of the day, I don't think that if they really kind of carbon copied what those best Star Fox games were and tried to make a newer version today for the Switch with just better graphics, I don't really think it would get the job done. I think that after all this time and all the experimentation Nintendo has done with Star Fox over the years, which, by the way, Nintendo has really experimented with the Star Fox game, by the way. I mean, when you think about it, the first 2 games were a similar, simple, traditional format, do a bunch of missions in your R-Wing, and that's it. But as soon as they went on to their next game, which was Adventures on the GameCube, all they did was different weird experimentation with so many different facets of that game and of that franchise. And I pretty much like all the games for what they are, but it really didn't have a consistent genre. After Star Fox 64, they've done so much experimentation with it. And so you look at that traditional Star Fox game and it just doesn't work. We've evolved too much. And if Retro was going to bring out this game, it's not going to make people excited. It's just not. If it's just, it's Star Fox 64 Part 2, it's another 14 missions, each one's about 7 to 10 minutes long, and you just got to keep replaying them to get higher scores once it's done. That's not going to keep people excited. And it's also, by the way, I have to admit, it's not going to be healthy or beneficial to the Star Fox franchise. And I think that Star Fox fans, older Star Fox fans who are maybe bemoaning the idea of this Star Fox racing game, I think we really need to stop and think about that. If that's not going to be a great thing for the Star Fox franchise, is that really what we should want it to do? Do we want it to be another game that comes out with a thud, and that even if it's fun for a couple of minutes when you first pick it up for like a week or so, once you've gone through it all, do you want it to be a game that just disappears and fades from your memory and fades from your collection? No, we don't want that. We want Star Fox to continue to grow and to continue to evolve. Look at how Nintendo has evolved the likes of Zelda, Mario, Metroid, and many other franchises throughout the years, and how that has kept them relevant and kept them going and made those franchises better every time. That's what we need for Star Fox. And so, if there's anything to this rumor about Retro working on Star Fox and this game being a racing game that's something akin to Mario Kart or Diddy Kong Racing, I think we need to look at that as a possibly really great thing. It's why I'm so optimistic about this idea. And at E3 in a couple of weeks, I really hope that Nintendo does actually reveal this exact game. Everything that this rumor has been about, I hope that they reveal it to be true. And I also hope that it looks good, because, let's be real, this idea, a Star Fox racing game, could turn out to be the most amazing, incredible thing with really beautiful visuals and so much depth of gameplay that it's incredible, or it could turn out to be some weird, awkward-looking kiddie graphics thing that's just like some weird, simple spin-up. It might have more of like a Metroid Prime Federation Force vibe, for example, than like a Breath of the Wild vibe. Or even like when Metroid Prime first came out and no one expected Metroid to go in first person and 3D graphics, but by the time that released, it blew everyone's mind, and now we all know it is one of the best games ever. It could be Metroid Prime, or it could be Federation Force. I think that's the analogy I'm looking at there. But at the end of the day, I trust Nintendo, and I definitely trust Retro. I think you guys should trust in Retro as well. And as a super huge Star Fox fan, I just want to believe that that is the best way to do it. I don't think a traditional Star Fox game can work today the way it did 20 years ago. So yeah, those are my quick thoughts on Star Fox, Retro's racing game, the whole rumor about this weird kind of mashup title. And you know, if it turns out to be true, we're really just going to have to truly gauge what this game will be like when we actually see it. Again, as I've said so many times, we may never see it. Maybe this thing is a big old lie and a hoax, and it's not something that's ever going to be revealed. But I certainly tend to believe it more than I don't believe it. So, as I've said many times already in this video, I hope we see it soon. I hope it turns out as great as I want it to be. And I'm willing to bet it's going to be the best way to save Star Fox and to evolve and move the franchise forward and not to kill it. Because at this point, for all we know, Star Fox Zero could have been the nail in the coffin for Star Fox, and it's gone forever because they kind of messed that game up. But if they bring it back in this grand fashion and this new direction turns out to be the best way to reinvigorate Star Fox, it's going to be great. And all the old school Star Fox fans who think they want a traditional game might be really pleasantly surprised and say, hey, I was wrong. This is the best way to do Star Fox going forward. I'm so glad it's back. Thank you, Nintendo. Thank you, Retro Studios. So, I don't know. Those are my thoughts, my theories. E3 in a couple weeks will be very exciting. Are we going to see this game, and will it be great? You guys let me know. Definitely share your thoughts. All opinions are welcome here, as always. And that is it for me today. Thanks, of course, for tuning in. This is Rob of Ro2R Review, and I'll catch you next time on another video.